We're going to keep loading people in while I make these announcements, and then we will get the show started. So welcome, like I said, to the last Story Slam of the season. I'm Jennifer Cambris, Director of Production and Special Projects here at Montclair Film. A few announcements before... No, stand tall, stand proud. We're happy to have you. This is a friendly community. He made it. Everybody give him a round of applause. He made it in. So a few events that we have coming up. Tomorrow night, please don't miss Montclair Improv Comedy here at Cinema 505. On June 5th, we have a special screening of the film Rare, a rare disease revolution, followed by a Q&A with co-director Lainey Mosley and a special performance by film subject Casey McPherson at the Claridge. On June 16th, we have a special screening and Q&A for the film Jeanette, presented in partnership with our friends over at Out Montclair. On June 17th, in partnership with Science on Screen, we have a special screening of After Yang with a pre-screening talk, Memory as a Foundation of the Self, with Amy Gladstone, who is a PhD in LCSW. On June 19th, we have a Juneteenth celebration at the Claridge with the screenings of Juneteenth, Faith and Freedom, and The Great Debaters. Our free movie night Under the Stars series begins on June 21st at Lackawanna Plaza Street with the Wicked sing-along. And for that, we got the big LED screen because let's be honest, it's a really long film, so we got to get started a little earlier. So we're going to do that one at 7. Most of the time, it's at sunset. It's going to be a great way to kick off the summer. Later in the summer, we'll also feature free outdoor screenings of Dazed and Confused, The Sandlot, and The Wild Robot. Please save the date for our summer showcase weekend, June 26th through the 29th, as part of this year's North to Shore Festival. It'll be a full weekend of great festival-worthy films you definitely don't want to miss. We open June 26th with Sorry Baby. Our centerpiece film is Twinless, and our closing film is Folk Tales, with a lot more in between. You can grab a brochure with the full schedule up at the front. Our summer academy classes are on sale for middle school and high school students. It's a great way to learn a new skill this summer and have fun. Classes are offered in filmmaking, screenwriting, acting, editing, and much more. We also have our spring and summer adult classes open for registration as well. You can find out more about information on these events and so much more at montclairfilm.org. Please be sure to sign up for our emails and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Blue Sky to make sure you're the first to know about all of the great upcoming events. Please consider also becoming a Montclair Film member for discounts on tickets to the Claridge, the Montclair Film Festival, and tons of perks all year long. Who here is a member? We always like to see our members. Woohoo! Shout out to the members. Woo, we got a lot today. Thank you, members, for continue to support us. And you'll be helping support all the work we do for the community. Before I finish up my housekeeping notes tonight, I do want to give a special shout out to the Montclair Film staff members who make this season of Story Slam possible. Let's give them a round of applause. We're going to do 2 big rounds of applause. So just for perspective, we used to be a small but mighty staff doing a few programs, year-round programs, along with our 10-day festival, and obviously our education programs. And since taking over the Claridge a few years ago, we now host over 250 events throughout the year between both theaters and our headquarters, on top of 130 events that happen within the 10-day festival in the fall. We have staff from all departments dedicated to improving the quality of these type of community programs and making them better each year. Can we please give a huge round of applause for my amazing Montclair Film staff once again? Thank you guys, you're the best. The bar is open tonight. Please feel free to get concessions while I'm making these announcements and during deliberation after the storytellers finish up. Please note our fire exits on your left and your right, and the bathrooms are on your left and out the exit. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you, your host for the evening, Duncan Miller. He is our storytelling teacher and coach here at Montclair Film. Duncan is a former actor and improviser who has performed with the Second City and Improv Olympic in Chicago. He has performed in various theaters, short films, and festivals in New York City, Chicago, and Baltimore prior to earning his master's degree in education. Currently, he is a high school academic dean at North Star Academy in Newark, helping to guide the next generation of storytellers. Please welcome Duncan Miller.
Thank you, Jennifer. Did you see that last gentleman dip super low? It was impressive. Good evening, welcome. Where are my first-time Story Slammers at? Never been here before. Let's get a show of hands. All right, veterans, welcome them for their first Story Slam. And we saw our members, but who are returning Story Slammers? Let's see a show of hands. And welcome back to you. Give it up for everybody. Thank you for making it out on this beautiful night. Our last Story Slam of the season. Wait for the tears until the stories, please. I'm so excited to be here tonight to round out this season. This is one of my favorite nights of every single month, and it's so wonderful to see so many returning faces. So thanks for coming back. Our theme tonight is It's Gonna Be May. For those of you who got that reference, thank you. Just like the boy bands of yesteryear, which seem to all be back on tour again somehow, these stories will be a mix of unique situations. People overcoming challenging odds. People who are talented. People who are leaders. And of course, there'll be a good mix of frosted tips and see-through tank tops. Boy band reference. Thank you. No, if you're not actually a fan of boy bands, don't worry. None of the 98 Degrees, Backstreet Boys, or NSYNC members are here. Mr. Timberlake? No? No, sorry. But we do have 3 local celebrities, and they are our wonderful judges here in our second row. Let's give it up for our judges. First up here on the end is Fanny Gray. Let's welcome Fanny. Fanny writes fiction inspired by a Southern American childhood and dark fairy tales. She's a 2022 Gotham Writers Josie Rubio Scholarship recipient and a 2024 Key West Writers Workshop participant with Jonathan Escoffrey. Her first published piece, Last Damsel, was nominated for a Best of the Net, and Cindy's received honorable mention in Clever Magazine's 10th anniversary anthology Flash contest and was nominated for Best Microfiction. Vestal Review nominated her Flash Pygmalion for a Pushcart Prize. She is currently a reader for Fractured Literary, and all of her published work can be found at thefhgraymatter.com. Let's give it up for Fanny Gray. Two doors down is Steve Liu. Let's give it up for Steve. Steve's a New Jersey and New York-based digital artist, graphic designer, editor, and videographer with a diverse skill set for visual imagery, both in motion and still. Through all the different mediums he's worked with over the years, his heart lies with working behind the scenes and through cameras to bring ideas to life from paper to the big screen. Upon graduating with an MFA in computer graphics and film from the New York Institute of Technology, he has worked on multiple indie films in various roles behind the scenes, in addition to being a corporate videographer within the manufacturing industry. He also teaches here at Montclair Film and hopes to inspire and encourage many to bring out their inner creative abilities through the power of cinematography and storytelling. He currently is working on a bunch of short films, and he is continuing to pursue his own goals of being a director. Welcome, Steve. And last up here in the center is Mary Amato. Let's welcome Mary. Now, Mary is a StorySLAM veteran and an award-winning author of over 25 books, a story and manuscript coach, and the co-founder and director of Firefly Shadow Theater, a company that explores storytelling through cut paper, light, and the human body. Her work has been translated into foreign languages, optioned for television, and produced on stage. She teaches popular workshops on writing and the creative process around the country. Locally, she also teaches art at the Montclair Art Museum and songwriting at In Tune in Maplewood. Let's give it up for our last judge, Mary Amato. All right, now that we know who's in charge, here are our rules. Storytellers, listen up. There are only a few things to note, and the first is right here in this front seat. Jennifer will be keeping your time for tonight. 6 minutes is the storytelling limit, so she will hold up signs to give you cues. The first one is a green sign when you're halfway through. With 1 minute left, you will get a yellow card. And when you've hit 6 minutes, the red sign will appear. Please try to wrap it up at that time. The only other rule is to be on theme. And with such a wildly diverse theme, we're so excited to see what you bring. There will be no intermission, so if you want to grab one last snack or drink, please do that now. And we'll have about a 10-minute intermission at the end of the stories so that our judges can deliberate before we announce our winners. This is a friendly competition. You are already a wonderful audience. We're so excited to hear 10 amazing stories tonight. Let's give it up for our first storyteller on theme of It's Gonna Be May. Let's welcome to the stage, Gail Licht. Come on up, Gail. They put her in the back. Let's give her a minute. Let's keep it going for Gail. Thank you.
It's hard to see. Hear me okay? Can you hear me okay? Yes. The name of my story is The Hat. Hi, Honey, I'm Home was the name of the sitcom I was working on when I decided to quit the industry. We just found out that the show would not be renewed. I was already a self-doubting 29-year-old, and I used this latest disappointment as an excuse to yet again cave to my parents, whose idea of encouragement were remarks like, "The entertainment business is no place for a nice Jewish girl." This was back in the day before parents knew they're supposed to tell us to believe in ourselves. Instead, they would say things like, "Why don't you get a normal job and find yourself a husband?" I don't think they meant move to Chicago and date a gangster, though that is what happened. Classic me, quitting the industry for supposed stability, yet moving to a new city in the hopes of reinventing myself. Ever since I was young, I had this tug of war. I was a nice Jewish girl, but I never fit strictly into one definition. I was a dutiful daughter, I got good grades, I was never in trouble, and yet my parents were always accusing me of being defiant. Why? Because I hated shopping, didn't want to wear the Jordache jeans my mother insisted all the girls at sleepaway camp would be wearing. I yearned to be appreciated for being an individual and not innately conformist, but that was never going to happen. Instead, I learned to suppress the less conventional side of me, sometimes successfully, often not. An acquaintance once said to me, "You know, you're actually not as mainstream as you come across. You really should wear a beret or something." So 3 months in Chicago, I have a new apartment, a new job, new friends, and more blind dates with nice Jewish boys than I could count. These grew stale, partly because I felt like I was auditioning for a role I didn't really want, until that fateful day when I met the man of my nightmares. Frankie and I met on the telephone for reasons unrelated to dating, but after a few flirtatious chats, he suggested we meet at a nearby bar. I said, "How will I know you?" He said, "I'll be wearing a black hat." I went to the bar, circled a couple of times, didn't see anybody with a hat, black or otherwise, so I made for the exit. And then he grabbed my arm. He was an attractive, Italian-looking guy wearing a black fedora. I said, "How did I not see you?" He said, "Well, I took the hat off, and I wasn't going to put it back on until I saw what you look like." I know. So it should have been my first cue to run. Instead, I was flattered, and thus began a 5-year on-off relationship with a handsome and funny, but basically bad guy. Was he really a gangster? To this day, I do not know. But after 5 years of dating, I still didn't know what he did for a living. In restaurants, he would make me sit with my back to the door. He would regularly stand me up with the excuse being something like, "I had a last-minute meeting with the Russians." An apology gift once was a Chanel purse that had fallen off the back of a truck. And Frank was a compulsive liar. One night over dinner, with the girl from Ipanema playing in the background, he leaned in and said to me, "You know, my father wrote that song." Other times, he was painfully honest. Apparently, it wouldn't kill me to get a boob job. I know. If I'm making him sound awful, it's because he was. But I got other things out of this relationship. I got a kick out of dressing up like a tart for him, bypassing long lines at restaurants. I felt like I was a character right out of Goodfellas. This was my opportunity to say to the world, maybe I'm not who you think I am. This one night, we were supposed to meet at a restaurant. He was late, and I assumed unlikely to show. There I was at the bar getting drunk on martinis, and then I bummed a cigarette from somebody at the bar. The hot bartender came over to light it for me, and he pulled out of his back pocket a matchbook, opened it up, and lit it all with one hand. Now, I don't know if it was the martinis or his good looks, but this parlor trick just about made me fall off my bar stool. Frank did show up that night. And all throughout dinner, I just kept drunk babbling about this feat. Oh my God, he lit a match with one hand. So hot. Frank was either bemused or bored, but he let me just keep rambling until the end of dinner when his espresso showed up and he takes out his own pack of cigarettes and, without any fanfare, proceeds to light a match with one hand. This was Frank, calculating yet impressive. The Jewish boys were no match. Get it? I think I was more myself with Frank than anyone else, even the uglier parts of myself, because he, faults and all, never pretended to be something he wasn't. He used to warn me, "I'm a bad guy, you shouldn't be with me." And I responded by saying, "I think I want to write a sitcom about our relationship." It was he who came up with the title, Matzah Matayu. Of course, I had to endure judgments from my supposedly supportive girlfriends. But my aha moment came when my friend John said, "I think you know what you're doing, and you're getting something from this, and when you're ready to move on, you will." I did eventually end things, and I moved back east. But not until my time in Chicago and this destructive, constructive relationship had served its purpose, demonstrating to me that I did not have to fulfill some destiny as an unoriginal stereotype. Contrary to predictions, I never regretted my time with Frank, but to this day, I deeply regret leaving movies and television. If I could do it all over again, I'd rather be working on a mob movie than starring in one. So maybe I hadn't moved to a new city to reinvent myself. Maybe I had moved just so I could be myself. I had left behind a version that was consumed by, yet pretty much failing at trying to please others. Still, for many reasons, I knew the time was right to return home. But this time, I promised it was going to be me. No more suppression and no apologies. So before I packed up my apartment and I got on that plane, I bought myself a beret.
All right, let's keep it going for Gail. When you're in drama school and film school, they tell you have to suffer for your art, but not with Frank. Oh, thank you, Gail, for starting us off. Great start. All right, let's get right into our second storyteller tonight. Let's welcome to the stage Terry Clegg. Come on up, Terry.
Hello, Montclair. My story is untitled. She sat sleeping in the sun, a look of bliss on her face as her upper body heaved with breath that told me this was the best sleep she'd had in days. I kept singing, thankful that the songs were coming to me, even as birds were diving and swooping around the nearby feeders, and even as reflections of onlookers from the nearby sunroom inside made me wish everyone could be out here on this beautiful day. But the songs did keep coming because Reverend Ann had agreed to come outside with me, and on this day, that had made all the difference. Paul and Silas thought they was lost. The dungeon shook and the chains come off. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Reverend Ann, one of the strongest and kindest people I've ever known, is moving through a new phase in her life. Due to a Parkinson's diagnosis that is ongoing and a broken elbow from a recent fall, she's at an inpatient rehab center. The lighting here is harsh, and the silence is not the good kind. In fact, the silence isn't silence at all, but is a continual low din made of clacking computer keyboards, beeping vitals machines, an occasional cry for a nurse, phones ringing and rarely being answered, and the constant squawk of televisions, 2 per room, all tuned to different stations. The space can also make it difficult to help at all, really. On my first visit, I learned that not only is Reverend Ann not allowed to stand or walk on her own, but that neither are visitors allowed to help her stand or walk. This can be so discouraging, and Reverend Ann reminds all of us visitors that everyone who works here has a hard job. We know this, of course, but like most rehab centers, this place is also painfully understaffed. So getting Ann help for her most basic needs can quickly become a tender and frustrating process. I've been visiting whenever I can. I bring my ukulele and snacks, and I pull up a chair at the foot of her bed where she sits in a wheelchair with a rolling table between us. She requests certain ukulele songs, thankfully not Tiptoe Through the Tulips. Mostly Ann loves the ones that make her dance in her chair. Well, if I could, I surely would stand on the rock where Moses stood. Pharaoh's army got drowned. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. On this day, though, Ann is not singing along or dancing in her chair. She's been on and off the phone all morning with family talking about insurance. I can see that she's feeling raw, her face hardening into anxious angles. After a while, I suggest maybe we can go outside. She says no, 3 times. It's sunny out there, but it looks brisk, and she is not interested in putting on a jacket. She even looks at me sideways at one point when she sees me trying to figure out how to work her wheelchair. Then her phone rings. She picks up, holding the receiver to her ear, her brow showing the pull of gravity with each moment. When she hangs up, she looks at me and says, "You know, some fresh air might not be a bad thing." Say no more. Making low vroom vroom noises for only Ann to hear, I push her chair out, past her roommate staring blankly at her TV, down the hall, past the meal cart tray and 2 gossiping health aides, past the nurse's desk where exhausted people avoid eye contact so they can focus, past the dining hall serving food that makes visitors bring snacks from the Italian deli to share, past the sunroom where people watch the bird feeders from behind glass, and finally, gloriously, past the reception desk and out into the open air. We are greeted by a fresh, gentle breeze and the sounds of birds fluttering from feeder to roof, roof to bush, bush to bench, and back to the feeders again. I push the wheelchair toward this beautiful commotion to a place in the sun. And as soon as the warmth comes to Reverend Ann's face, bliss is the word she sighs. We sit for a few moments here in this pie slice of manicured green between the parking lot and the rehab building. Then Ann looks at me and starts tapping her hand and kind of winks, hinting that a song might be nice right about now. So I start singing, and she falls fast asleep. Now, I know she needs the rest, so I continue the song, getting quieter as I go, and then I get to the end and I stop. And at this point, she wakes with a start and looks at me like, "What happened? I was enjoying listening to that." So I laugh and I start singing again, and right back to sleep she goes. And for about the next hour, the birds, the songs, and the blissful relief in Reverend Ann's voice are the only sounds I hear. Thank you.
All right, let's keep it going for Terry Clegg. Thank you, Terry, for sharing Reverend Ann with us. Shuddered off stage thinking about hospital food. Thank you. All right, storytellers, as you've seen other storytellers come up, please feel free to adjust the microphone. I want to make sure it's a comfortable space for you and that we can hear you perfectly to share your stories. Let's keep it going for our third storyteller. Let's welcome to the stage Darren Patterson. Come on up, Darren.
Hey, everybody. So, April 2012, Brooklyn, New York. Okay. No one going to say yet. The Bell House. Me and my team are standing on stage with right next to another team. And the two of us are in the final round of the 90s Trivia Night hosted by New York One's very own Pat Kiernan. It's very exciting. Yes, that Pat Kiernan, the one that mostly no one outside the tri-state area knows, Pat Kiernan, big bad Pat Kiernan. We battled 4 rounds of 90s trivia, a lot of questions about Lance Morissette and Nordic tracks, and we have made it. We've made it to the final round, and in the final round, each one of the people in our team had to give the answer that Pat Kiernan would ask, and it would just be on us, and we couldn't confer with the rest of our teams. The other team had 8 points. Our team had 9 points, and it was the first team to 10 points would win the whole thing. We have 9 points, and it's my turn to go up next. Oh no. In my head, I'm thinking, I could win it all for us. This could be like the big moment where I win it for our team. This could be like my Casey at the bat moment. This is amazing. And also, it's very nerve-wracking, and I want to throw up and go home. So Pat Kiernan looks at me. He asks me the question. Just straight up, he says, what animal was made illegal to own as a pet by former Mayor Rudolph Giuliani in 1999? And I have no idea what he's talking about. I totally blank. I've never even heard of that thing before. But I heard whisperings in the audience like they knew it. So that made me feel like I should know this. And that made me even feel worse. I was like, I don't know what he's talking about. What is... And then I was like devastated because this isn't it. This isn't my moment. I'm gonna blow it for my team in front of all these people, and it's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna have that big moment, or so I thought. Because the trivia gods must have smiled upon me because somebody out in the audience in the darkness of night just shouted out the answer, ferrets. Pat Kiernan heard it, I heard it, everybody heard it. The question gets disqualified. Yeah, so then Pat Kiernan was like, well, I got to go to the next question. Next question is, what 1996 film starred Shaquille O'Neal as a genie? I mean, come on. My eyes widen, I shout out, Kazam! And yeah, that was it. I won it for our team. And I was just like, my eyes just bulged out of my head. I jumped up in the air, people. I literally jumped up in the air because it was just so amazing. I hugged all my teammates. People in the audience were going nuts. It was the greatest moment of my life. And at that moment, I thought to myself, oh, this is why people play sports. Like, this is the reason. Because, I never played sports growing up. The only sports I do like to play are things like, shooting pool, air hockey, mini golf, things you can do while drinking and sitting down occasionally or what I do. But, this moment I've never had, this moment of winning the whole thing for everybody. And it's such a great feeling. It's such an amazing, exuberant, joyous feeling. And that's what I hope for everybody here. For everybody here, at least at one time in their life, should have that feeling of winning the whole thing for everybody, just being the winners. You know what I mean? So, that's what I hope for everybody here tonight. Just, go through all these trials and tribulations that life throws at you and get through it with the help of your friends, your family, and ferrets. And just so one day you all, too, can have your very own moment of Kazam. Thank you.
All right, let's keep it going for Darren. I don't often feel personally attacked, but I wanted a ferret when I was a kid, and my parents wouldn't let me. Same year, they bought my sister a bunny, and the next year, she got a very used, very old, near-death horse. 2 animals, 2 years. I'm still ferretless.
Okay, but what does she do for a living now?
She's an equine trainer. I could be a ferret trainer. Thank you, Darren. My dream will live on. Thank you. All right, excellent story. Thank you for that positive message to bring us together. Let's keep it going for our next storyteller. Let's welcome to the stage a new storyteller, Sarah Mastalone. Welcome up, Sarah.
Hi. So it's appropriate that I'm telling this story here at 505 Bloomfield Avenue because from kindergarten through high school, I was in schools that were less than half a block from Bloomfield Avenue. St. Michael's in Newark through 7th grade. 8th grade at Our Lady of the Lake in Verona, half a block from Bloomfield Avenue, and then high school at Mount St. Dominic's. So I'm very well traveled on Bloomfield Avenue. When I graduated from high school, I went to Rutgers Newark as a chemistry major. 5 years later, I graduated from Rutgers Newark, lots of drama and comedy in between, as a psychology major. I am now a graduate from college, and I am still working in the deli in ShopRite in Essex Green. In August, the woman who ran the customer service department said, Sarah, they need a 1-year third grade teacher at St. Financius in Orange. It's the same pay, $4,900 a year, but I think you'll have more fun. So I call up Sister Claude, the principal. She interviews me. I think on just my graduating from Mount St. Dominic, she hires me, probably because they're desperate now. And I get to work with this third grade class. These are the children who, despite the fact that my father wanted me to be a teacher, convinced me I should be a teacher. And they convinced me on a lot of different levels. These were the people who taught me the lessons that I needed to know in order to be an effective teacher. I'm only going to tell you one of these many stories, and my husband says not even the best story. But this is one day, thank you, one day I notice that these perfect third graders, and this is the best grade to work with if you're completely unqualified for this job, because they can put on their own coats, take off their own boots, get themselves to the bathroom on time without my intervention. And if they like you, they love you. And they tell you everything, and they lean against you, and they send you love letters, and they wipe their nose on your skirt. But what I noticed was, during each class or so, they would misbehave, and it was always during math class. And so I said, since I had no one to ask, I said to them, why is it that you misbehave during math? And one little guy says to me, 'cause we can't do it. And I say, what makes you think you can't do it? He said, couldn't do it last year. And I thought, well, all right, not crazy. What was it they had to do last year? They had to memorize the multiplication table. Oh, they think math and catechism are the same thing. And because I have such a poor memory, I know that math is the thing you don't need a good memory for. But I also knew that my telling them they were good at math was the same as their parents telling them they're good looking. You know, it's not going to have a whole lot of weight. I have to find something that they think is beyond their ability that they can do. And so I thought, oh, well, what could that be? Now, this is where the psychology background was helpful. They're concrete operational. Maybe geometry is what they need to do. And as became true throughout my 50-plus year career of being a math teacher, that there was a teacher, a 7th grade teacher, who had these materials that were activity cards in geometry. And so she hadn't even opened them, so she gave them to me, and they seemed to be appropriate for 3rd grade reading level. I come into class and I say, all right, time for math, take out your books. Oh, pass them forward, huh? Pass them forward. And very dramatically, I take them and put them in the closet, I lock the door, and I say, we are not doing that anymore. From now on, we're going to do geometry. And Jody, who's in this picture, says, geometry? My brother's taking geometry. He's in high school. I said, exactly, and you're going to do it too. Now, Sister Claude, who has hired me for this job, is not really happy, and she doesn't know what to do with me because I'm letting the kids call me Sarah. My room is chaos by the end of the day. The nice, neat rows that the janitor puts the desks in are all over the place. And so she sends Sister Bertrand, who had been my brother's 7th grade teacher at Our Lady of the Lake, and he's a piece of work. And she comes in and she spends the whole day watching me with these kids. And she says at the end of the day, oh, wait a minute. In the middle of math class, one small group discovers the Pythagorean theorem. From measuring right triangles. You remember the Pythagorean theorem? A squared plus b squared equals c squared. They discovered this. I'm very excited. They present it to the class. The class tests it out. They keep getting the right answers. It's very exciting. At the end of the day, thank you, Sister Bertrand comes up to me and says, you're a born teacher. And I said, Sister Claude's not very happy with me. And she said, well, just make the room a little neater at the end of the day. And I say, Sister, I would love to, but I am so exhausted at the end of the day, I can barely get in my car and go home. And she said, well, that's okay. Just make sure all the shades are the same length before you leave. And I thought, right, but as long as we look good from the outside. So, 50 years later, still a math educator. Very important to the teachers. The teachers in the room. People magazine said that the hottest profession to date are teachers. My dating days are over, but 50 years plus still teaching math.
All right. Let's give it up for Hot Sarah. Yeah. Thank you, Sarah. Any other educators in the room? You are a math educator. So let me, one more time, hands up for educators in the room. Let's give them a round of applause. It is tireless, thankless work, but it is, of course, so instrumental. The last time I was good at math, actually, ironically, 3rd grade. So we got that in common. All right, let's keep it going. Let's welcome to the stage our next storyteller. This is Alyssa Rosen. Come on up, Alyssa.
A little more education's coming. So, it was a Tuesday. 3 days of Martin Luther King Day, I prepared for my 1-year review. Honestly, I was like a little scared because a year ago, our little 8-person company was bought by a big 80-person company. And then we were being integrated in, but it never quite felt right for me. Like, what was my place in this company? Didn't they see that I cared more about the students of America than any of these other 80 people? Why? Because I would go into a classroom. We sold a computer science program. If anyone knows what Python is, we taught Python in middle school. How cool is that? What is that preparing students for in life? Jobs? Not anymore because of AI. But in a year before, it would have been cool. And I found that when kids learn to code, they pay attention to details. They're learning how to read. And you know what? If they're not the star sports person or the popular person, they feel good about the fact that everybody wants to know, how did you do that? So I had this TED Talk for 7 years, thinking that this company would think, oh, they got Alyssa. What are we going to do with her? And then I was prepared for my yearly review, even thinking about singing the song from Sammy Davis Jr. Once in a lifetime, a man knows a moment, one wonderful moment when fate takes his hand. So I went in my closet and I got dressed and I said, enough already with the black. Brighten it up a little, you know? Wear something a little more cheerful, like this blouse that you haven't worn in 10 years because you're a remote worker and nobody cares what you wear. And you know, it's only from the head up, put the beautiful blouse on from Anthropologie, which I never would shop at because it's very expensive. My niece had a 40% discount. She worked there. Put the blouse on, hair, did the eyes, perfect. Oh my God, I am really feeling good about this. I mean, my sales have been great. My future, this is gonna be my moment. So, I took a selfie to memorialize the day of my first yearly review. And then I signed into Microsoft Teams. The host is not available now. So I waited and I breathed. And then there she was. Hi, how are you? How are you? How was your weekend? Mine was fine. How was yours? Oh, I did this thing she told me about with her kid. I wasn't listening, blah, 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 blah. Oh, that's so nice, great. And I am just ready to talk when all of a sudden another face appears on the screen. That's the HR director. That's amazing. She wants to hear about all my accomplishments. But she's not smiling. And she says, I regret to tell you that today is your last day. My eyebrows went up and my face went down. Oh my God, I lost my job. I got so nervous, I couldn't talk. And then they're like, do you have any questions? And I couldn't talk. And the next thing I know, I wanted to get my husband up to hear what was going on because maybe something legal would happen and I'd miss it. And I touched something, and they were gone. And then I couldn't get back in because they locked me out of the system. And then they called me on the phone. I said, just FaceTime me. Get this over with. Just get it over with. And they said, do you have any questions? I said, no questions, just one thing to say. This is not on me. This was bad management. This is on you. You think they cared? Not at all. And then I hung up, and I no longer was an EdTech salesperson. What was I? Felt like nothing. 1 week later, my nephew calls me and says, Aunt Alyssa, I need you to model for Fashion Week. Oh, are you kidding me? I don't have those kind of clothes. No problem. Wear some of your frumpy clothes, come on in, and we're gonna dress you. And then I put on a mini skirt and some high boots, and I went into Manhattan, and they dressed me and did my hair, and I went down Houston Street, and there I was, reborn. Aunt Alyssa is alive. Thank you.
All right, give it up for Aunt Alyssa. Anybody miss Zoom? All right, thank you. And another educator sent in a different direction with another beautiful shift. Thank you so much. All right, let's keep it rolling. Welcome to the stage, our next storyteller. This is Anne Mary Mullane. Come on up, Anne Mary.
My legal first name is Anne Mary. 2 words, no E on Anne. Anne Mary is a little twisted to say, but by the age of 2, all of my nieces and nephews could say Aunt Anne Mary as easily as they could say Tyrannosaurus Rex. It was my dad who wanted me named after my mom, Mary Ann. But my mom didn't want Big Mary Ann and Little Mary Ann. So from that day forward, I was backwards. I thought I was normal. All the kids in the neighborhood knew my name. But then my first grade teacher handed me a bogus report card. My name was spelled wrong. There was an E on Ann. That wasn't me. And I refused to take the report card home. Gutsy for a 6-year-old. In high school, a teacher said to me, "Are you sure your name is Anne Mary?" You mean my parents lied to me for 14 years? The follow-up was, well, Mary must be your middle name. It's in the middle.
Well, I asked, well, if my first name was Anne, would my middle name be Mick? Because my maiden name was McMillan. I didn't mean to be a smartass. It was I just didn't understand why this teacher was trying to give me an identity crisis. Nevertheless, I was sent to the office. But my mom, Mary Ann McMillan, knew how to speak their lingo and pointed out that my tuition check would bounce if she signed it Mary McMillan. Well, you know, through high school and college, there were some missteps on this, but, you know, Anne Mary isn't the name that people expect to see, and I was kind of past being offended. In fact, people's inability to get my name right on the first try probably had given me a greater sense of compassion. And that sense of compassion was a help as a high school teacher. I had this last period web design class. It was mostly senior boys. Let me tell you, there wasn't an athlete or a scholar among them. They could be a lot of fun, but they were a workout for my classroom management skills. Of course, being 8th period, some of them were already sitting in the office. The biggest and goofiest guy in the group would always yell out, "Hey, Melaine!" I wasn't the coach. Well, I had him meet me in my office, you know, the hallway. And we discussed the trauma of first name issues. I told him that I expected him to call me Mrs. Melaine. He, you know, gave me that kind of laugh. And then I reminded him that my class roster was considered a legal document, so maybe I should call him by his legal first name, Leslie. He got the picture. You know, I never suffered fools. I was in a district that the teachers and the administrators were all on a first name basis, with the exception of my new supervisor, Dr. Joseph Myers. He kept addressing this mysterious Ann person, and I ignored him. And then this pompous ass was towering over me. I looked at her and said, "My name is Anne Mary." "Whatever," was his reply. My blood boiled. "Look, Joey, if you want an answer from me, it's either Anne Mary or Mrs. Melaine. You know, some people just can't follow an obvious clue." My husband Bob and I threw ourselves a party for our 25th wedding anniversary. My friend, a Lutheran minister, was wearing her collar when she picked up the cake for us. And she had the good sense to ask to see it before she left the store. And the inscription read, "Happy Wedding Anniversary. Bob, comma, Anne, comma, and Mary." Menage a trois? When to use a comma? Poor reading comprehension? No common sense? It's been a lifelong struggle, but now the government's getting involved. You've heard of Real ID? While my legal name is on my birth certificate, my school diplomas, my marriage license, and my passport, the DMV has never put my legal name on my driver's license. I'm Anne Mary Melaine. Why does everybody mess up my name? It isn't that hard. Would you humor me for a second? Could we give it a try? Repeat after me. Anne Mary Melaine.
Anne Mary Melaine.
You did it! Thank you.
All right, keep it going for Anne-Mary Mullane. I also have somehow a difficult name, first name Duncan. It just goes to show you that corporate influence is drilled into our brains because every barista in the entire country thinks that my name is Dunkin. Struggle is real. All right, let's keep it going. Let's welcome to the stage our next storyteller. This is Julia Francis. Come on up, Julia.
Well, I hope you all have patience with me because English is my second language. Thank you. What I am going to read to you, I originally wrote in Spanish, but of course, I needed to write this in English too. And by the way, I have also issues with my last name. I always have to say that my last name is Francis with E, because they always put the I. But anyhow, I named this Christmas 2017. I am originally from Spain, and I want to give you a little background, because that has a lot to do. Christmas 2017, I have never been to Spain for Christmas, but I feel the need to go because my father is older, and I don't know how much time he has left. I decided to spend a special time with him, full of memories and of a past when the house was filled with noise and family. Many of our loved ones are no longer with us, but others have arrived. I buy the ticket, pack my suitcase, and I fly with Dutch Airlines. Normally, to reach Spain, I must stop in another European country. Often this means spending the night in an airport. On this trip, my layover is in Amsterdam. Amsterdam has a cozy airport with perfect places to rest. But all the ones I see are occupied. I walk until I find the boarding gate area. There is one seat available. It's a bit cold, but not too bad. I sit down and reflect, thinking that perhaps this will be the last time I see my father alive. I revisit my childhood, his personality. My father is not a typical man of his time. He never smoked or went to the bar like most men of his era. He didn't like soccer, and he was either working or at home. I remember going to his workplace and playing hide and seek with my sisters. His printing machine workshop was a fascinating place. The machines were monstrous, perfect for hiding among them. It was fun. There was a characteristic smell, a mixture of ink, metal, and grease that filled the air. Sometimes I will watch him work, seeing how his strong and skilled hands adjusted parts, calibrated mechanics, and brought those imposing machines to life. He had infinite patience, and although he was often focused, he always had time to teach us something. How a lever worked, what a gear did, or how to cut paper precisely. It was as if his genuinity and creativity were concentrated in that workshop. The workshop was very large and full of life. There were 2 shepherd dogs guarding it. One was very affectionate, always seeking our attention and company, while the other, more serious and distrustful, barked and scared all the strangers. I remember how their presence added an extra layer of security and movement to the place. There was also a huge bathroom with a round fountain where the workers washed their hands. That fountain was a meeting point at the end of the workday, and I can still smell the soap they used. A clean, penetrating, and comforting aroma that filled the air and gave the space almost ceremonial atmosphere. I also remember him working in the forge, making furniture for my mother's kitchen or creating metal stands to decorate the house. We have many of them. I was fascinated to see him transform materials into objects full of utility and beauty. It was as he had the power to bring everything he touched to life, a skill that seemed magical to my young eyes. I admired the cold landscape outside. Dawn is just beginning, and the sun, with its faint golden rays, filtered through the low clouds covering the horizon. The cold is intense, almost biting, but there is something in the light that softens the surroundings. The solitude of the place wraps around me like an icy blanket, but at the same time, I feel a strange warmth growing from within as the dawn light were speaking directly to my soul. Each ray seems like a thread connecting my present to my past, each glimmer an invitation to introspection. This moment of stillness is interrupted by the arrival of two passengers. They are two young Spanish women. In fact, they are from my land, Valencia, like me. I listen to them with curiosity and cheerful and youthful conversation. That brings warmth to the cold morning and the solitude of the place. They are university students. They talk about the things young people think. I listen to them with admiration and reflection. I am transported to a time where I was the age, a dark time in Spain, the dictatorship. A cruel dictatorship that relegated women to a secondary role and where attending university was almost unthinkable, a privilege reserved for a very few. I dreamed of leaving the country, discovering new horizons, something I was able to do many years later. I listened to these young women with their cheerfulness and warmth. I can't help but compare myself to them. A mirror is placed before me, and I see myself reflected in it. Despite of all of the obstacles and circumstances, I achieved my goal of leaving Spain and broadening my horizon. The experience was not easy, but I am full of gratitude to the opportunities that the United States offered and continue offering me. Upon arrival to Valencia, the girls, like me, reach the destination. Their families await them. I want to connect with them, say something to them, say goodbye, but I can't. After all, I am a stranger. The image of my father and memories mix with the moment. I realize that although the time passes and generations change, the spirit of overcoming and the search for a better future connect us. As the sun finishes rising on the horizon, and I feel that this trip is not only a reunion with my father, but also with my own history and everything I have reached, I achieved thanks to this experience. I spent unforgettable days with my father. We shared laughter, memories, and moments of closeness that I now deeply treasure. It was the last time I saw him alive. And that Christmas has become a beacon of love and gratitude that illuminates my memory. Now, to finish, I want to share that in my trip, I brought him a sweater that normally you don't see in Spain. And he loved it so much that every single day that I was there in Spain, he wore the sweater. So when he passed, a couple of years after, because of COVID, I couldn't go to his funeral. I went to Spain, and my father was a huge collector of things. He collected coins, paintings, you name it. And, my older sister asked me, what did I want, and I said to her, I just want one thing. I just want his sweater, the sweater that I brought him. So.
All right, thank you, Julia.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your father and yourself with us. What a beautiful story. All right, we're going to keep it rolling right to our next storyteller. Let's welcome up Adam Berg. Come on up, Adam.
Thank you. Good evening. Robert, my late father-in-law, was a kind, generous, and thoughtful man. He was also practical and logical. He loved me as any man could love another man who had married his daughter. That was his kind and thoughtful and loving side. He also loved me because I had married his daughter, and that was his logical and practical side. That love for me manifested itself in an unwritten and unspoken arrangement where whenever he bought a new car, I would get his present car as a used car, which was great because my wife and I and our two small children at the time lived in Manhattan. He lived in Yonkers, and we would drive up to see him from time to time. It was close for comfort, but as I like to say, just far enough. I traveled for business and still do. And from time to time, I would travel various places. I would bring the car up to Yonkers, leave it in the driveway, take the train to the city, and go to the airport, because that way my wife and the kids would not have to wrestle alternate side of the street parking on the Upper West Side. I discovered that the farther I went, the farther my car was driven, because anybody in the family was welcome to use it. Adam's in Chicago? Let's go to Stu Leonard's. Adam's in Hong Kong. Let's drive to Montreal. You might say the car was a kind of a rolling dowry, which worked out great for everybody. My sister-in-law used the car, my brother-in-law used the car, and it was there. At one point, Bob got a new car. I got it as a used car, but the paperwork wasn't done. Things weren't quite right with the registration, the inspection, although it was registered in my name. There were other things, and Bob and I resolved that no one would drive the car while I was on this relatively long business trip to Los Angeles. I left the car in the driveway. I went on my trip. Bob went away to visit some friends. My sister-in-law came to the house, saw the keys to the new car, the old car, the used car in the driveway, and said, "Adam's in Los Angeles. I'll take it to the city for a few days." I came back at 1 o'clock in the morning from Los Angeles, and on the kitchen table was a stack of parking tickets totaling $550. No registration, bad plates, no inspection, parked by a fire hydrant, double parked, school bus violations, $550. I didn't sleep that night, and I asked my wife, "Did you drive the car?" She said, "No." I called Robert. I said, "Did you drive the car?" He said, "No." Sister-in-law Jean, "Did you drive the car?" "Yes." "What about this stack of tickets for $550 on the kitchen table?" She said, "Exactly." I resolved to fight it in traffic court because I was in LA. I had not driven the car, I had not taken possession of the car, and was not going to give the city of New York $550 because I hadn't done anything. If you've ever been to traffic court, it is the fast food of justice. You pay for garbage, you get garbage, and you eat garbage. I cannot imagine why any attorney would go through law school to become a traffic court judge. But I went down there dressed like this, and I watched him for hours. Gavel up, gavel down. Gavel up, gavel down. Down, guilty, pay the fine, see the clerk. Guilty, pay the fine, see the clerk. He was the Sir Isaac Newton of justice because he gave new gravity to the law of gravity. It became my turn. I explained my situation. He was unimpressed. I explained my circumstances. He was unimpressed. I explained my extenuating story. He didn't care. He said, it's your vehicle. I said, Your Honor, I wasn't in town. Doesn't make any difference, Mr. Berg. It's still your vehicle. Your Honor, I didn't drive it. My family drove it. He says, it doesn't make any difference. It's still your car. I had no knowledge that it was going to be driven. I told everybody not to drive it. They drove it anyway. Exasperated, he said, Mr. Berg, you are still the agent for the vehicle and responsible for its safe and lawful operation. The hammer began to ascend. In midair, it stayed, like the sword of Damocles, like Thor's hammer, like a guillotine in the French Revolution. It stood there, and I was about to pay $550, which I was not going to pay. They say that necessity is the mother of invention. I'll tell you what the mother of invention is. In-laws. The hammer stood here at the apex, and it occurred to me. If it please the court, may I ask His Honor one more question? Go ahead, Mr. Berg. Ask your question. Are you married? Hammer falls. Crack. Case dismissed. Have a nice day, Mr. Berg. Thank you.
All right, keep it going for Adam Berg. Nice job. Judges are people too. All right, we got just a few more excellent stories ready for you. Let's welcome to the stage our next storyteller. This is Lori Lefevre. Come on up, Lori.
Wild. Okay, sorry. Okay. I don't get running. I just don't get it. Running is boring. So one day, as I'm floundering my way through what they now call a gray divorce, long-term marriages that dissolve later in life, like my 25-year one, usually after the husband, like mine, leaves the wife, like me, for somebody 30 years younger. And as I'm riding the wave of raising a highly pissed-off teenage daughter in the midst of a global pandemic that just won't go away, me and my blankie are on the couch scrolling through Facebook instead of doing laundry. So I come across a post from a running club in my small New Jersey town, and they're asking for people to vote on a new logo that they developed. Well, I love voting, so I throw my vote out there. And my logo wins. And then I start following them. Voyeuristically, whatever that word is. But they meet up to run together practically every day. They post lots of smiling pictures. They look like they're having fun. How could this be? Running is boring. But I keep following them. I can't stop. I see a post about a training program they offer called From the Couch to a 5K. It's March. Why would you want to get off the couch? Well, somebody must want to, so I give it a like. Big mistake. Immediately, I get a DM, IM, whatever the hell they're called, and send us your email, and we'll send you a schedule. all these running peeps, they live in my town. I can't be rude. So I send my email. Almost immediately, they email me back. It's just 1 hour a week, Saturdays at 9. We will support you every step of the way. Damn them. And damn their positivity. Well, I show up for the first session, and I'm just thinking of a million ways to get out of it. But then I meet my coach. He is a very handsome, very tall, African-American ex-football player looking man. Well, maybe this won't be so bad after all. So handsome coach reminds me that he reminds all of us that there are 8 weeks, that will culminate in a graduation race in my town's most famous 5K. My panic starts rising, but these damn good vibes are shooting at me from everywhere, so I stay. There are 25 of us. I'm the oldest, I'm the slowest, and I'm the most pissed offest because all these other runners look pretty professional to me. And I bet that they have never even been on a couch, let alone get off of one. I can't do this. No way, no way. You got this, Lori, says handsome coach. He's nudging me, and he's smiling at me, just like all those posts, and I'm doing it. I make it through the first session, and I follow their instruction sheet to a T. And although I'm pretty sore, I go back the next week. This time, handsome coach has a Bluetooth speaker, and he asks for requests. I yell out, "Staying alive!" Everybody laughs, so we run. Week after week, we run, we smile, we high-five it. These kids are becoming my besties. One in particular, though, she's coincidentally 30 years younger than me. She becomes my soul sister, S-O-L-E, my soul sister. We make a pact. We pledge that no matter what happens during the race, no matter what, we will just keep running. Yeah, like Dory in Finding Nemo. We spit in our palms, we shake, we train. It's graduation day. Oh, there's lots of pictures, there's lots of smiling. We are so famous that the mayor of the town comes over to be in the pictures with us. They announce the starting time. We line up, bullhorn blows, we step off. The streets are packed with spectators, and they all know me. Lori, is that you? Running? Shall we call 911? I give them the thumbs up, they cheer, they high-five me, they even sprinkle me with a garden hose. Oh, this is fun. Until the hill. 2 miles in, and I am not so sure about this anymore. My legs are shaking, I'm having trouble breathing. Soul sister sees me and says, "You got this, mama." We trudge up over that hill together like soldiers heading into battle. It's the last turn. Going into the high school stadium. All of a sudden, we're running on grass. Could they make this any harder? I wobble, I stumble, I feel soul sister beside me. "You got this, you got this." We hit the track. I see the bleachers full of more people. I mean, the entire town is here. The mayor's wife is on the loudspeaker. She sees me, and she bellows into the microphone, "Well, what do you know? Here comes Lori Lefevre." Yeah, well, I take this as a challenge, and I dig deep, and I push it, and I cross that finish line like I'm going for the gold. I finish. The crowd roars. Talk about an endorphin rush. As I'm high-fiving and hugging people all over the place, I hear my soul sister's loud voice coming at me. "Lefevre's name is bolded! Lefevre's name is bolded!" I immediately think I've been disqualified. I must have did something wrong. She runs at me, she grabs my shoulder, she shakes me saying, "You won a medal! You won a medal!" Oh my God. Okay, so it was in the old lady category, but I won a medal. Handsome coach comes out of nowhere. He's got tears in his eyes. He picks me up off the ground and puts me in the strongest, sweatiest bear hug. And he whispers in my ears, "I'm so proud of you." And he gently puts me down and pushes me in the direction of the winner's circle. As I start to make my way over there, I stop and I look up. And way up in that bright beautiful blue sky, I see the back of that husband that I had devoted so many years to. And that back of him is disappearing into the clouds. And at that moment, I send along behind him all my worries, all my doubts and my fears, because now I know that no matter what happens, no matter what, I can and I will just keep running.
Yeah. Keep it going. A medal's a medal, Lori. Well done. All right, just 2 more stories to round out our evening. It's been a great audience. So let's bring up to the stage our second to last. This is Susie Gozier. Come on up, Susie.
That's all right. It was August of 2019, and there I was on the stage of the TV show, Let's Make a Deal, holding my husband's hand so very tightly, more than I had in a very long time. And next to me were standing the 2 other contestants, waiting for the end of the show for them to announce who had won 3 trips around the world. You see, the last few years had not been winning years for me. My mother had died just a year before, and honestly, my marriage was in shambles. All I wanted to do was hide. But then I decided it was summer of 2019 coming, and my family needed a vacation. So we booked a trip with my daughter and my son and my husband and I to Los Angeles. And I booked tickets for all of us to be in the audience of Let's Make a Deal. You see, when I was little, when I was homesick from school, I watched Let's Make a Deal. And I told my family now that was always my secret wish, to be a contestant. So I said to them, I hope that I have the luck to do this. Well, my daughter stopped me and said, no, Mom, there's method to this. She had been a television and film major in college, and she knew how to learn what we needed to do to make ourselves be the most likely contestants on that show. Well, I studied well, and that day on August 11th of 2019, I entered into the show of Let's Make a Deal, and I was wearing my onesie pajamas with baby ducks all over them and tightly holding my teddy bear. My husband was wearing a white coat as a doctor and his stethoscope around him. And he was a doctor, in fact, but that's what she decided we would best be suited for. As I came in, I danced to the music. I put myself out there. I was talking to everyone. I was taking selfies with my children, putting them up on Facebook of Let's Make a Deal. By the way, something that wasn't that natural for me to be doing. But I did it because I wanted it to be me. We get into the audience of Let's Make a Deal, and they choose the first contestant, then the second contestant. And now, the next thing I hear is the baby and the doctor, come down. Well, I jumped up and I grabbed his hand, and with each step going down those steps to the stage to see Wayne Brady, I only wished that I had a diaper in that onesie as the pee dripped down me slowly. When we got down there, Wayne Brady said, you're gonna play a game. What does your husband sounds like a blank? Oh, I got this. He blindfolded me, and then the first sound came out of my husband's mouth. Pew, 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 pew. Well, I yelled bomb, of course. Only realized that this is a family show. And in fact, it had been fireworks. Okay, I got this. We were in sync. We could do this. We were on a new start. This is going to happen. And so the next sound was ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. I knew the word, but for the life of me, nothing was coming out of what it was. All I could think about was being in Disney World at the Country Bear Jamboree, and I yelled out, "Singing bear." Well, I was so embarrassed. I knew that wasn't it. It was banjo, of course. Well, in my embarrassed state, I thought, of course I'm gonna get this now. Come on, we can do this. So the next sound was vroom, vroom, vroom. Well, that's what I heard. And motorcycle, right? That's a word for the family show. No, as I took off my mask, my husband was making the sound of a blender. Well, Wayne Brady, I think, took pity on us and offered us a $200, or we could have the box. And as a little girl watching that, I knew. I yelled at this time and jumped up and down, "Box, box, box." And we won a trip to Fort Lauderdale. Well, I have to tell you, at the time, I was the happiest person on the face of the earth. And I jumped into my husband's arms, and I felt that this was a gift from my mother in heaven, bringing us together as a couple. And all I wanted to do was go to Florida with him, just the two of us. This was going to be our start. Now, as we start going back, they say, wait. You've won a golden ticket, just like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, I thought. One of 3. At the end of the show, they brought all the golden ticket people up. And the man wearing the astronaut costume chose the green envelope. The woman, who was a French baker, chose the blue envelope. And we were given the red, by the way, the color I would have chosen. He opens the green envelope. Nothing in there. He opens the red envelope, and before the TV audience could see, I was screaming, "We won! We won! We won!" A trip to Australia, a trip to Barcelona, and a trip to Hawaii, where we had gone on our honeymoon. Well, I have to tell you that we went on a wonderful trip to Fort Lauderdale, and I did think we had a restart. But then COVID came, and all of those 3 trips around the world were canceled. And I'm also sorry to tell you that my marriage has come to an end a few years later. However, this was one of the most memorable times of my life. I was so ecstatic, so many wonderful memories. I was one of the happiest days, and I was thrilled that it was me. Thank you.
All right, give it up for Susie Greusser. And let's all condemn Wayne Brady. I'm sorry you lost the trips, but that was a beautiful story. Thank you. All right, let's bring it home. We have one last beautiful story. Let's welcome to the stage Victoria Gallucci. Come on up, Victoria.
First of all, wow, what a night. Seriously, I almost got up and left. I got nothing on you people, nothing. But here I go anyway. I caught the acting bug in college. My grandmother, who was paying my tuition, threatened to cut me off if I didn't find a more suitable major. I tried to appease her, but being on stage was as close to home as I'd ever felt. So after 2 years of college in a small town in New Hampshire, I had enough credits for an associate's degree. I graduated, and I moved to Boston the next day. I got a job waiting on tables. I found an agent. He was a regular at the restaurant. And I even started dating a playwright named Stanley. In a short time, I landed a few commercials for a bank, and I was an extra in a movie about Bobby Kennedy. The year was 1982. Stanley decided to start his own theater company. He called it New Voices. His vision was to provide a home for up-and-coming playwrights, directors, and actors. For his first production, he chose a play called Hearts on Fire, a story about 2 best friends, Casey and Beth, who decided to both seduce the same man. His choice for director was a woman named Sarah from New York City, who had brought this play to his attention. Stanley invited me to audition. He handed me a copy of the script and suggested I audition for Casey, the wild and sillier of the two leading ladies. I memorized one of Casey's monologues and delivered it in spectacular fashion. The director liked what she saw and asked me to stick around to do a scene with the man she was auditioning for the lead role of the male. But not as Casey, she said. She wanted me to do a scene as Beth. I was given about 15 minutes to study the scene, and then I got called back onto stage. I can only explain what happened next as divine intervention from the muses. I slipped into the role of Beth with astonishing ease, and I nailed the scene. I was told to go home and wait by the phone. A few hours later, Stanley called. "The role of Beth is yours," he said, "and Sarah wants us to meet for drinks at the Copley. Be there at 7. I arrived at 6:50. Stanley was already there, but the director hadn't arrived yet. We ordered drinks and we waited. Sarah burst in about 20 minutes later. She explained that she had just gotten off the phone with Elizabeth, and that Elizabeth took the bad news with enormous grace. "Who's Elizabeth?" I asked. "Elizabeth McGovern," she said. "Didn't Stanley tell you? She's a good friend of mine, and the role of Beth was hers until I saw you on stage today." What? I was speechless, literally unable to form words. I was afraid I was dreaming, and if I spoke, I'd wake myself up. Elizabeth McGovern. She's an Academy Award-nominated actress. How is it possible that my audition was better than what she could bring to this role? That's when Stanley turned to me and said, "I knew Miss McGovern was considered for this role. I didn't want to tell you. I thought it would rattle you. This theater company is called New Voices for a reason. You're a new voice. This role belongs to you." I understood in that moment that something big was happening to me, something life-changing. 3 days later, Stanley called me. The producers of the show would not agree to pay the playwright for the rights to stage her work. "We are unable to proceed," he said. "It's over." I was devastated. Then Sarah called me. She was heading back to New York, and she had 2 pieces of advice for me. Number 1, do not let this loss discourage you. It happens all the time in the theater. Number 2, you are far more talented than you realize. You really ought to move to New York. I spent the rest of the day digesting how I won and lost my big break in 3 days. Then I picked up the phone and I called my grandmother. And I told her what happened. My grandmother was not a sympathetic person, but she heard something in my voice and asked me, what could she do for me? "I want to move to New York," I said. "I want to get into a good acting program. I need to rent an apartment, and I want you to help me finance all of this." "I'll think about it," she said. And then, in her typical fashion, she hung up the phone. A week later, a check and a note arrived in the mail from my grandmother. "If you must," is all the note said. I packed up immediately and moved to New York. I found a studio apartment in Queens. I auditioned for and was accepted into a program at the Actors Institute. The loss of that play had begun a new life for me. I reached out to Sarah, the director, about a month later to let her know everything I was up to. She asked me if I could meet her for coffee. the next morning. "I have someone I want you to meet," she said. When I arrived at the coffee shop, Sarah was waiting for me, and sitting next to her was Elizabeth McGovern. Thank you.
All right, keep it going from Tori Gallucci. And please give it up one more time for all of our storytellers tonight. What a fantastic show. We're going to invite our judges to head upstairs to deliberate. We'll throw on some music. Please go meet a storyteller if you're impressed or moved by their story. Meet somebody next to you. The bar is back open, and we will get back together in about 10 minutes to announce our winners. Thanks, everybody. So our lovely photographer, Casey, is going to grab some pictures. Storytellers, just to frame this, we want to make sure that we get a picture to memorialize these wonderful stories and this excellent sharing this evening. So storytellers will be introduced first, second, and third place prizes. You'll take a picture with your respective judge. We do want to get a group shot of all of our storytellers because we're all winners tonight. Thank you. So let's give it up one more time for our whole storytelling event. We have tons of events this summer, montclairfilm.org. We have adult classes, we have teen classes, tons of things going on, so please check us out. We do take a hiatus from the Story Slams over the summer, just for a couple months. We'll announce the themes for the fall, probably in July. So please check us out if you want to come back, and thank you to everybody who keeps coming back. We appreciate you, and we're here for you. So our judges should be appearing in just a moment. The vamping has begun. Yes! Oh, the drum roll is organic. It's real. Here they come. The lights have dimmed a bit. Does anybody have any jokes? The first place prize, just so you know, does come with a full year membership to Montclair Film. So stakes are high, but everybody that wins is going to get a swag bag. It's very exciting, full of Montclair Film gear, so you can wear it around town. So we're very excited to present those prizes. Don't be sorry.
You did such a good job vamping.
Thank you so much.
Sorry about that.
All right. Now let's get that drum roll going. All right, Steve's got our first winner.
What's going on? Oh my gosh, I have a mic in my hand. It's like I'm doing karaoke, but I'm not going to do that today. So our third place winner that we all decided on is Darren Patterson, and we just absolutely love the story. He had a lot of good energy. The pacing was awesome.
Come on up, Darren.
And established the stakes very well, so really awesome performance, Darren. It's awesome. Very cool.
Congratulations, Darren. Nice job.
Yep.
All right, can we get a picture with you and Steve? All right, we're going to have you stand right up here, and we'll get a shot of every winner at the end, please.
All right, our second place winner, you'll remember her name. We loved her story. It was so funny, and it was so well presented. Anne Mary, come on up.
All right, Anne Mary, congratulations. Come on down.
Congratulations, we loved it.
Thank you.
There you go.
All right, thank you for the applause. Anne Mary, we just stay up here. We'll get a picture of all of our winners.
Okay, so this storyteller established a solid, funny trajectory with a motivational ending to keep us all in the race. I'd like to give this one to Lori.
Yes, Lori, come on down. First place prize. And that's her running coach.
Congratulations. You did great. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you so much.
Good job. Thank you very much.
If we get all three of our winners, come up. Lori, don't leave. And our judges as well, if we'll come back. We're going to go front and center. We're going to get a picture of our winners and our judges together. Come on down. Get cozy. Yes, let's give it up one more time for our winners for the evening. And if we can welcome up all storytellers, our winners can stay. Let's get everybody who participated tonight. We are so grateful for all of your stories. Gonna have to get a little cozy. Yes. running in wedges. Well done.
Yeah, I know. Like prom.
That's it.
All right. Congrats to our winners. Congrats to all of our storytellers. Thank you so much. You've been a fantastic audience. We'll see you next season in the fall. Get home safe. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.